Well, folks, welcome back. This is Chris in England to talk about Donald Trump's refugee resettlement program, allowing South Africans who are racial minorities to come to America. And yes, that is correct. Racial minorities, not the lies spewed by legacy media or by politicians in South Africa or by hate groups in America disguised as people of faith. This is not about white South Africans. It's not about Afrikaners. It's about racial minorities, which is what I said I hoped it would be from February 7th, the moment that Trump announced this 2 hours later when I went live, until today. And on the 12th of May, it was announced that it did include racial minorities. And I can confirm that coloreds were in the first 59 that went over on May 12th and arrived there. And also since then, Indians and coloreds have been getting processed as part of the racial minorities who will be resettled in the United States. Now, I'm doing this video about the Episcopal Church, but I'm going to go with another topic before that. And that's what led to the reason for this video, the proximate cause of doing the video this evening. And that specifically is that now I've had disturbing news about refugee reassistance organizations who have pissy attitudes and use their personal politics to discriminate against South African refugees coming over. Now, I don't know what their problem is, but I promise I will expose these organizations if and when I confirm these allegations. Some folks who went to Texas have been largely abandoned by the refugee resettlement case officer, their claim. I've contacted the organization to find out if, in fact, there's merit to this. And if there is any truth to this, which I don't doubt there is, I will expose them for the frauds and the racist bigots that they are, if that's the case. If they're not, then we will say that there was a mistake here. That's why I'm not naming names at present, but I will happily name names and expose people who are bigots and racist in the future. Now, speaking of bigots and racist, back in May, on the 12th, when the program was first announced formally, the Episcopal Church of the United States decided that they were no longer participate in a program they participated in for 4 years. Now, the Episcopal Church claims to be Christians and people of faith, and they have brought many tens of thousands of people from all over the world, almost none of them white people. But the moment that the phrase white is used, suddenly they become racist. And their knowledge of history and of the situation is ridiculous and ignorant. Also, they, like children throwing their toys out of the pram, the racist Episcopal Church of America abandoned this program in May because they're too dim-witted to pay attention to what was happening. President Trump temporarily suspended the refugee program, but that's not how they approached it because of the racist bigotry against South Africans. And let me read to you how this all started with them. So back on May 12th, they issued a letter saying, "Dear people of God in the Episcopal Church, I'm writing today with some significant news about Episcopal Migration Ministries, the organization that leads the Episcopal Church's refugee resettlement ministry. Since January, the previously bipartisan U.S. refugee admissions program in which you participate has essentially shut down. Virtually no new refugees have arrived. Hundreds of staff and resettlement agencies around the country have been laid off, and funding for resettling refugees who have already arrived has been uncertain. Then, just over 2 weeks ago, the federal government informed Episcopal Migration Ministries that the terms of our federal grant, we are expected to resettle white Afrikaners from South Africa, whom the U.S. government has classified as refugees." Now, let me just focus on that for a moment. So, because the people are white, you're not going to provide services. Well, that's racist. I'll continue the letter. "In light of the Church's steadfast commitment to racial justice and reconciliation, our historic ties with the Anglican Church of Southern Africa, we are not able to take this step. Accordingly, we have determined that by the end of the federal fiscal year, we will conclude our refugee resettlement grants agreements with the U.S. federal government." Now, what is this all about? Where do these people come off with this nonsense? The presiding bishop of the Episcopal Church said, "I want to be very clear," that's Sean Rowe, "I want to be very clear about why we made this decision and what we believe lies ahead for Episcopal Migration Ministry's vital work. It's been painful to watch one group of refugees, selected in a highly unusual manner, receive preferential treatment over many others who've been waiting in refugee camps or dangerous conditions for years. I'm saddened and ashamed that many of the refugees who are being denied entrance to the United States are brave people who worked alongside our military in Iraq and Afghanistan and now face danger at home because of their service to our country. I also agree that victims of religious persecution, including Christians, have not been granted refuge in recent months." Now, the problem with that, of course, is that the cowardly withdrawal from Afghanistan occurred in 2021. It's 2025. If there are legitimate refugees who work with U.S. military in those 4 years who haven't gotten out, well, then someone failed in the Biden regime. And this is just pure politics. They're going to pretend they're not being political, but that's exactly what they're being here. And by the way, the people you're being racist against are also Christians. Jesus tells us to care for the poor and vulnerable as we would care for him. Right now, what that means is ending our participation in the federal government's refugee resettlement program and investing our resources in serving migrants in other ways. For nearly 40 years, the Episcopal Migration Ministries has put hands and feet to our church's commitment to seek and serve Christ in migrants and refugees. We've served nearly 110,000 refugees during this time, many of whom are now American citizens and beloved members of our communities, workplaces, and neighborhoods. Over the years, we've helped resettle individuals from Ukraine, Democratic Republic of Congo, and Myanmar. We supported vulnerable populations across the globe, regardless of nationality, until you became racist in 2025. Either you serve all who are found worthy by the United States government, or you serve none. You've chosen to serve none. The kingdom of heaven is not waiting for you. Your ignorance, your stupidity, your arrogance, and your racist attitude towards South Africans, because you thought they're the people that oppress blacks. Folks, I don't relish making videos like this, and I've held off for several months writing about the Episcopal Church. It's time to expose the fraudulent conduct of these organizations who claim they're taking some sort of moral stand. In the meantime, refugees have begun coming back over from places like Yemen, Afghanistan, Myanmar, the DRC. Refugees who were previously approved have started coming back over and getting resettled. But they no longer offer their services starting 30 September or 1 October because they have a problem with South Africans because they're stuck in an era that's long past. Shame on you. You're a disgrace to the faith of Christianity. What say you folks? And for those refugee resettlement organizations in America who have bigotry and hatred in their hearts and are refusing to provide basic services which you're being paid for to South African refugees, stranding them, trying to set them up for failure, I will expose you. I will expose you. And I'm not alone. Trust me. Some people in the legacy media are chomping at the bit for this story. So keep screwing over legitimate refugees because you haven't thinking they're not legitimate refugees. That will be your mistake. Cheers.